Well, there it is, the closing bell. New York Stock Exchange will be dinging in just a couple of seconds, a couple of beats here, folks. And they're clapping. There it is. There's the bell. Market's closed. There's not a lot to clap about right now. A lot of red on Wall Street. Dow Jones ended almost 700 points lower. S&P 120 lower almost. And the NASDAQ, as you can see, 500, the biggest loser on the board right there, 500 lower, 3% in the NASDAQ, a lot of stocks. And it started early. NVIDIA came out and said they were taking a $5.5 billion quarterly loss. A lot to do with some of the tariffs situation, shipping chips to China. That's exactly what they said. So I think the whole tech sector kind of took a hit. That VIX that we've been talking about, that means as that goes up, people become more nervous, and the VIX is up 12, almost 13%. Gold up, nervous, people are concerned. Gold, always a great investment, 3,300. Oil, 62, 65. Now, a couple things that, why did the market come off so hard? I'd just be very, very transparent with you. I was buying stock today. I'm buying it into this sell-off. Again, I'm concerned about the tariffs. I've said this time and time again. I'm very concerned about the tariffs. I read something that CEOs, and there are people who track this, the CEOs, American CEOs are buying stock of their own companies at record levels at these prices, which tells me they believe their earnings are good and that their stock will perform well, so they're buying their own company stock. So I'm going to give it a shot. I'll let you know. It could be wrong. Again, I'm very nervous about the tariff situation. I think there's a better way to hit it, as I've said, and I think they're going to come around to figuring that out, and I'm hoping that as the market comes down, I'll be buying into smarter people fixing Howard Lutnick's mistake, and the market comes back. Also, there's a press briefing that was announced midday today, about 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon, an previously unannounced press briefing. And I'm wondering, this morning we were talking about Japan may be close to a tariff deal with America. Maybe Japan is going to make, the announcement is going to be Japan and the Trump administration came to a deal on a tariff, and that would certainly help the market for tomorrow. Again, making the announcement after the market closes, they tend to do the things that would affect the market. Could be wrong. I'm purely speculating here, so don't kill me if I'm wrong. Actually, we're going to have someone from the White House on in just a minute. Maybe we can figure that out. Oh, wait. Yesterday, we told you about MTG was going to have a big rally. Remember, a big rally. There's going to be a lot of protesters. Guess what, folks? Tons of protesters. Let's take a look at MTG getting interrupted.
All inside the interior of the United States.
This is a terrorist group going after black and brown.
You can head out. The protest is outside. Thank you very much. Protest is outside.
You bunch-body bigot! You bunch-body bigot!
Well, that was just one, and now MD, roll some of the VO of some of the other knuckleheads that decided to disrupt MTG. Again, the cops were in full force. Brian Glenn was there with cameras rolling, so we'll have him. He's got to be in the White House for the briefing room right now, so we'll keep going. You got some more of that? Look, they're not. Listen, you want to be disruptive. You're not supposed to be there. There's a place to protest outside. You're inside. This guy he's like, oh, I'm going to go this way. Yeah, I'll go this way, right out there. There's another guy. And now, do you have the one with the tase? And I think we have some sound on this one. Play the sound if you can. Do you have that or no?
Taser. Stop. Move. Walk outside. No, sure. Put your hands on me.
Keep going, listen. Keep listening. Another tase. He gets tased twice. He deserves it. This guy fought. He's not supposed to be there. You pay attention to the cops, and when you don't pay attention to the cops, you get your ass tased. Get it? Capiche? And MTG continues to go. She's a very popular congresswoman in that district in Georgia. All right, a couple of the other things going on. Donald Trump drawing the line, telling the whiny Democrats that enough is enough. They can spread their hate and kick and scream all they want, but he's the president and he's prepared to make that clear. I don't want to do the soundbite right here, Mad Dog. I want to do number 2 instead. Let's go to soundbite number 2. Take a listen.
By the way, those 300-year-old folk getting that Social Security, I want to meet them because I like to figure out how they live that. Hell of a thing, man. I'm looking for longevity because it's hell when you turn 40 years old. But as a result,
the reason why I wanted to bring that is like, Joe Biden, can't you just go home? Just go home and eat ice cream, Joe. Just stop it. Just stop it. You almost ruined this country. You had all your little flackies and lackeys telling us you're fine and you weren't fine. Guy you could barely hear what he has to say. He couldn't even speak. And he came back to go do that. I'm sure the Democrats are like, hey, Joe, stop. Enough. We're trying to salvage what you screwed up, what you guys screwed up. Crybaby Adam Kinzinger openly calling for an insurrection, yet nobody seems to care. Listen to the crybaby little man talk.
Listen, we are in unbelievably uncharted territory here. And, we're approaching the point where, honestly, it's like we're all going to have to take to the streets or something.
So here's what happened. So Kinzinger decided to be an anti-Trumper, right? So he went on that committee to impeach Donald Trump. He and Liz Cheney. He went across the aisle, embraced the Democrats who were even off their mark, where they shouldn't have ever been doing that. Obviously, now we know that. And so now he thought he was a hero. He was a hero to the left for a long time. And then Trump came in and smoked it. He just won. He got a mandate. All of a sudden, CNN's going, what do we do? MSNBC's going, what do we do? Adam Kinzinger had a nice little spot on CNN as a anti-Trump Republican when things were going their way. Now no one wants to talk to him. So he's doing anything he possibly can to stay relevant, including almost coming to tears again on camera, just trying to stay in the limelight. Whoopi Goldberg. Now, I can't believe I'm hearing this. I'm going to set this up because Whoopi has been a lifelong progressive liberal nut job. If you close your eyes and someone it maybe altered her voice because you can tell it's her voice, but if you close your eyes, just listen to her, close your eyes, listen to her words, and tell me she doesn't sound like a conservative right now. Go.
Some of what's happening, like, they're trying to take apart the Department of Education.
Yes.
Maybe that is a good thing because maybe it will force us to make sure that our kids actually get what they need. Maybe it'll force us to go to our state and say, listen, I want to make sure, since you're taking all this money from my taxes, I want to make sure that my kids get exactly what they need. I don't have to wait for the government to do it. We can do it. This is now in our hands. This is in our hands, and it's going to be tough, and nobody wants to do it because it's a But you know what? If it comes down to your survival, this is what you got to do. You got to take care of what you got to take care of. And they're telling me that we're going to be right back.
Did you catch that last part? So Whoopi comes out, she's speaking like a conservative. Yeah. Yes, maybe it gets government to wake up and teach our kids the things they need to be taught, not this horrible road they're going down with the teachers' unions and everyone being bought off, and we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars per student getting through middle school, and they're graduating middle school and they can't even read or write or do math. So Whoopi's right, but again, you can't just turn it all around with one issue, Whoopi. And did you hear the end where she says, and they're telling me to go to break? In other words, shut the hell up, Whoopi. You're blowing it for us at ABC. The rest of us at ABC don't want anything to do with the conservative voice. Well, good on you, Whoopi. You got one. Now let's do, let's do crime. Let's do the border. Let's do taxes. Maybe you come around. I'll give you a Steve Bannon shirt too. But if you want a good laugh, just go to the panels on CNN. These people fight and they push these absolutely insanely ridiculous narratives around back and forth. And guess what? According to CNN panels, you and I could be deported to El Salvador at any time. Listen.
But when they see people being deported from the United States with no due process, when they start to think to themselves, just like the attorney was making online, who's to say that they couldn't throw any of us in an El Salvador prison?
Are you a citizen of El Salvador?
They can't. You're an American citizen. They can't intern you here. They can't send you to an El Salvadoran prison. Certainly can't do it for no reason at all. Because the thing that they're talking about is that the MS-13 member that broke the law coming over here, the guy whose wife called the cops on him, tried to get him arrested for domestic abuse on her, and she's the one crying on the news cameras everywhere to try and get him back. Well, they sent the guy, an El Salvadoran citizen, back to El Salvador. So what? So the hell what? Doesn't mean, jackasses at CNN, they're going to send an American citizen there. No. Stop playing that stupid rhetoric game. The guy was an illegal. He wasn't supposed to be here. That alone is reason to send him back. He committed crimes while here, allegedly. Second reason. Third reason, his own wife said he's a beater on her. It could go on and on. Send him back and stop pretending like anyone wants to send an American to El Salvador prisons. It's baseless and it's asinine. Before I head to break, just wanted to remind you about my podcast and YouTube page. Both are updated daily, constantly throughout the day. Of course, you can hear this show, but we have tons of other content anywhere, anytime. But you must subscribe. So subscribe now, both on YouTube, on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get, but absolutely subscribe. You'll get messages, and it's always free. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes. All right, I gotta let the folks know. Mad Dog, come on. Voice of God, ready?
Yes, sir.
Tell them what you did, right, bumping in. So do you have a countdown as you count into becoming live again on TV? Tell me what you did. Tell
I
them.
did 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then I got into the bump because we're in Mississippi.
We're in Mississippi. Mississippi. Well done, Mad Dog. Well done. Although I'm not sure why we're showing a picture of a little, was that a creek, a lake? What is that thing?
Yeah, it's a creek that I found.
Got it. Okay, so we're going to have the deputy assistant to the president coming to the mic. She's, we'll call it, it's Pebble Beach, which runs alongside the White House. So the White House, and then the Oval Office is in the West Wing, Oval Office, West Wing, and then alongside as you enter the complex and walk towards the West Wing and the Oval Office and the White House, it's called Pebble Beach. It's a series of little green tents that the different networks have, and one of our tents is there very close. You can see the White House in the background in just a minute. And so May Mailman is she's a deputy assistant to the president. She's going to be there in a second, walking over there as we speak. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this morning, Pam Bondi, as well as Lyndon McMahon and Riley Gaines were talking about the president's policy of no men in women's sports. And it's very important. It's important to the president because if you remember a couple of weeks back, the governor of, was she Maine? Well, the governor of Maine, right? Yeah, the governor of Maine, Mills. I'm sorry, is it New Hampshire or Maine? I don't remember. Janet Mills.
It's Maine.
It's Maine. Governor of Maine, Janet Mills, pushed back on this idea of making sure there are no men in women's sports. Remember this interchange in the Oval Office. Watch.
Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? I'm here. Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with the state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one.
So this has been going back and forth. And this governor has pushed back on Trump. And so finally, Pam Bondi comes to the White House today and she's going to make an announcement. But let's actually play it.
Today, the Department of Justice is announcing a civil lawsuit against the Maine Department of Education. The state of Maine is discriminating against women by failing to protect women in women's sports. Pretty basic stuff. This is a violation of Title IX. The Department of Justice will not sit by when women are discriminated against in sports. This is about sports. This is also about these young women's personal safety.
Can you believe it? So it's so logical. Women want men and dudes out of women's sports. And so this governor of Maine decides to push back and fight the federal bureaucracy. You're out of your mind. Trump will not sit for this. There's no chance he's okay with this. It'll be difficult. Anytime you need federal funding, look what he's doing with Harvard. Look what Trump is doing with Harvard University, one of the premier universities in this country, wildly liberal, has lost its charter, has gone completely off course, has gone completely left. And Trump is saying, until you become fair, balanced, you want to talk about equity? Do you want to talk about merit should be the reason you get into Harvard, not skin color, or certainly not where what part of the world you come from. And that's what's happening. American kids weren't getting into Harvard White American males weren't getting into Harvard because they were the wrong skin color, even though their grades supported it. 5 O's on a 4-point scale were getting turned down at Harvard, and people who were showing up recently, we just found out, people are showing at Harvard without the ability to do like 12th grade math at Harvard. And so Trump said, no, I'm holding back funding, federal funding, $120 million, maybe even more, $120 million. By the way, Harvard's got a $50 billion endowment, $50 billion endowment. Why is Harvard getting any federal assistance whatsoever at all anyway? And did you know, a little side note on Harvard, their endowment, $50 billion? When you invest $50 billion, I don't know, let's just say you put it in treasury bills at 4%, right? That's $2 billion a year that you should be paying taxes on it. But they don't pay tax on profits earned in their endowments. They get the tax break on the endowments, and we're going to give them extra federal funding. So Trump says, hold on, I'm holding back funding because Harvard, you're not fair. You're not equitable. You're not doing it the right way. And there's massive pushback on the left. Trump's just trying to even the playing field. Like with the sports, like with Riley Gaines, even the pool, even the playing field. Make sure dudes aren't playing in women's sports. That's common sense. That's logical. That's what the American people want. Meanwhile, lunatics like the governor of Maine want to push back. Good luck with that, Governor Mills. Good luck with that. I just read this morning, there's a town in Oregon that wants to do the same thing, basically. They want to be the sanctuary city for LGBTQ. Watch.
I move to approve a resolution declaring the city of Corvallis a trans, intersex, and gender diverse sanctuary city. Second.
My youngest child is non-binary, and we heard a lot tonight about some of the fear and ridiculous actions being taken at the federal level and in other states across this country, and they're scared. So when this was first proposed to me, I first heard about this, I was like, yeah, let's do this. I think for me, it's an obvious next step in the city. We've always taken our sanctuary status seriously. So I don't think we need to do a roll call vote on this. So let's just go ahead and vote. All in favor of the resolution as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no.
Well, that's not going to work out. You're scared. You're worried. I'll tell you what you're going to be worried about. You're going to be worried when you have an issue, when you need federal funding, and you go to the state, and the state's going to go, we're out of money too. Let's go to the feds. And Trump's going to say, no, you're not supposed to be doing this. We told you not to do this. Of course, you fight for Trump, it's not going to work. You fight with Trump, it's not going to work. You fight for Trump, you're going to end up on a pedestal. It's exactly what you need to be doing. All right, do we have that soundbite of Gavin Newsom, who's been all over the board, right? He's been total liberal progressive his entire 50-year life and career in California, mayor of San Francisco, governor of California, promised to end homelessness 20 years ago by spending $1 billion. They spent the money. Homelessness is ramped up in the state of California. Don't know where he is. He does a podcast. Charlie Kirk's the first guest. Steve Bannon's the third guest. He goes right. Everyone says you're an idiot in California. Gavin Newsom.
Governor Gavin Newsom says the state short on funds for its Medicaid program known as Medi-Cal. The state expanded the program to cover undocumented immigrants. The governor asked lawmakers to approve another $2.8 billion in loans on top of a $3.4 billion loan issued last week. So California now making up a $6.2 billion shortfall in Medi-Cal funds. The money meant to keep the program properly funded through June.
The realities are the realities. You have to balance budgets. We balance our budget. Revenue is holding up. I don't see anything significant along the lines of what some have asserted. But I do see the need to make adjustments and changes broadly in the Medicaid system.
I don't know if you heard what he said. Realities are realities. We have to balance our budget. We balance our budget. That is the biggest bunch of BS I've ever heard in my life. They are in such budget deficit in California, it's ridiculous. It's literally the opposite of Florida, where Gavin Newsom came in with a budget surplus. He turned it into a budget deficit. Ron DeSantis came in with a budget deficit and turned it into a massive budget surplus in the state of California. Again, with no state income taxes. It's because conservative finances in politics and governing works. Progressive stuff in California absolutely does not work. All right, I'm going to go to break because I want to bring back the Deputy Assistant to the President, May Mailman, who's standing by in just a minute. We'll have her right after the turn, 2.5 minutes. So, you know, I all week I'm promoting this little shot right here. It's a live shot, by the way, because we're live, and this is always doing live shots in these bumps. Is what they're called. Port Canaveral, Florida. There's a big launch coming up. I'm teasing a deep tease. Monday morning at 4:15 in the morning, by the way, folks. I'm just going to leave it there for now. All right, let's bring in, I'd like to welcome the Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Policy Strategist, May Mailman. May, really good to have you. Appreciate your time. You know, earlier we talked a little bit about Riley Gaines at the White House and Pam Bondi saying, you know, this is ridiculous. In fact, for your benefit and the audience's benefit, please play the Pam Bondi side again, Control Room.
Today, the Department of Justice is announcing a civil lawsuit against the Maine Department of Education. The state of Maine is discriminating against women by failing to protect women in women's sports. Pretty basic stuff. This is a violation of Title IX. The Department of Justice will not sit by when women are discriminated against in sports. This is about sports. This is also about these young women's personal safety.
So, you know, it's amazing that they're continuing this fight. They don't get that they're not going to win this one, do they, May?
They really don't. This is obviously an 80-20 issue, but once you've picked the side against Trump, you just have to keep riding that train as far as it'll go. But at this point, it's not funny anymore. There should not be boys and girls sports. It is so common sense. I do think that people are going to come to their senses already. On Monday, one Maine school district, their school board voted to say no boys and girls sports. So I think that there will be an organic movement to oppose Janet Mills and the Maine Principals Association, the Maine Department of Education. But right now where we are is that Maine is abusing, is harming, is not protecting women, which they're required to do if they're going to take the federal money. They could just not take the federal money, but they want to take it and harm women at the same time. We by law cannot allow that.
Yeah, no, it's great. You guys are standing on solid ground, and Pam's doing the right, and Attorney General Bondi's doing the right thing. She's doing what the president has told her to do, and the governor thinks that she's bigger than the president. Speaking of people who think they're bigger than the president, I know this is a subject near and dear to your heart. Judge Boasberg continues to want to tell the Trump administration to stop sending criminal aliens away and back to their home countries. Why? What's the recourse? Can we impeach this judge or get him tossed? Is there a way to get rid of these judges?
So, yeah, impeachment is this very obviously difficult process where you're going to have both the House and the Senate, huge majorities in each. It's time consuming. And instead, I think the thing that Judge Boasberg is actually setting up is he's going to force the executive branch to confront the question of when does a judge overstep their power into the president's power? When are they just actually becoming the president? And the president just has to say, I'm going to continue to preserve my power. And the Constitution anticipates this. They knew that there were going to be struggles between the branches, and they didn't create a superstructure. They didn't create a super judiciary that could tell everybody everything, that could run the presidency, run the Congress. No. Judges are supposed to say what the law is. They're not supposed to decide policy. And this judge has decided that he's going to create our national security policy, our immigration policy, all of our foreign policy, and it is overstepping. So I don't think impeachment necessarily is the most effective route there. I think that a robust definition of what the judicial power is versus the executive power, that's the thing, I think, that preserves this country.
Yeah. Speak to me as a mother or a wife when you see the wife of the guy who got deported, the El Salvadoran national who got deported, when she had the cops come on several occasions. I think she actually went to court against this guy, her husband, for domestic violence, and now she's tears are coming down her face because he's been deported because of all the laws he's broken?
Yeah, he's deported because he has a final order of removal and he has no right to be in this country. And so she can join him in a country in which she has a visa that she can visit. I'm sure El Salvador would be happy to have her, but he can't be here. And so that's the thing. If you are going to break the law and if you're going to facilitate the breaking of the law, then you're going to have to figure out where you want to live. But illegal immigrants can't live in our country. And there's been a huge misunderstanding about, can the U.S. deport? Yes, the U.S. can deport people who are MS-13 foreign terrorist organizations to their home country, El Salvador. The only question here was whether there was a valid withholding of removal order. And as Stephen Miller has said, he said that he was scared of going back to El Salvador because he thought that there was a gang that was going to get out, that was out to get him. That gang doesn't even exist anymore. So yes, the U.S. has the foreign power authority in order to deport people who have final orders of removal, have gotten all their due process back to El Salvador. And if any family member would like to join their family member, then they are there is a plane available that they can go to El Salvador and have a good time.
May, there's a briefing that was announced midday out of the blue. Any idea? I'm sure you know. If you can you let us know? It's supposed to happen any minute now. Can you tell us what the topic is, the subject for the, let's call it an emergency briefing.
Previews here, but yes, Caroline Leavitt announced a briefing with a special guest at 4:30, and so everyone's just going to have to hang around and find out.
All right, I'm going to watch your face now. Everyone, watch May's face. When you say special guest, how special, and I'm winking, how special is this guest? Is he super special, like super duper special?
I just think that it's going to be an exciting time at 4:30, and people are going to have to stick around and find out.
You're good, May Mailman. And by the way, you know why we call her May Mailman, besides it's her name? Because she delivers, folks. May Mailman. I appreciate your time. Thank you getting that briefing. We'll talk to you again soon, May. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, folks, 2.5 minutes. We'll be right back. Look at that, Louisville. Mad Dog, come on. Is that pickleball, Kentucky? Pickleball court, Kentucky? No, is that tennis?
Nah, it's Louisville, Louis.
It's Louisville. It's Louisville. If you're in Kentucky, it's Louisville. Or for those of us not in Kentucky, it's Louisville. It's not Louisville. All right, folks. Hey, Barack Obama, this is your legacy, my friend. This is your vision, the America you created. So take it all in. Situations that should have nothing at all to do with race have become entirely about race. That's the legacy of Barack Hussein Obama. Race baiting, division. That's what he created with his agenda, his speeches, his rhetoric. A black kid named Carmelo Anthony brings a knife to a track meet. Let me repeat that again. Brings a knife to a track meet. Why in the hell would he bring a knife to a track meet? And he allegedly kills another kid, stabs a white football star named Austin Metcalf in the heart. And so let the race baiting ensue. $500,000 is raised not for the kid who died, but for the kid whose legal offense to play into racial grievances for Carmelo Anthony. $500,000 for the killer, alleged. A black DEI judge reduces his bail to $250,000 down from $1 million. His parents then buy a fancy new home and a fancy new Cadillac Escalade with the legal defense money. Whoever said crime doesn't pay. Oddly reminiscent of the Black Lives Matter era, isn't it? Is it not? Buying mansions with the donations under the guise of fixing America's so-called systemic racism. Remember that? Summer of Love, George Floyd, 2020. They were buying mansions with the money those folks were donating to them. But this is the America Barack Obama created. It's the America Biden then perpetrated during Obama's third presidency. And here we are. So Barack Obama, puppet the big guy, Joe Biden, puppet Joe, was brought back out of the basement yesterday to give a speech about Social Security. And Biden's handlers decided that the best way to show proof of life was to bring Weekend and Bernie's out to talk about, and I'm repeating this, colored people.
And I had never seen hardly any black people in Scranton at the time I was only going in the 4th grade. And I remember seeing the kids going by at the time called colored kids on a bus going by.
Barack, what was that? What was that? Ad-libbed, or why did you write that for Joe too? Nothing to see here, folks, but just our former dementia in chief, ex-president Applesauce, referring to African-American children as colored kids. And they said he was all right. Because you see, they're the party of racism. They are, of violence, and of all that's wrong with America right now. The left views everything through race-colored glasses. Texas teen Carmelo Anthony, accused of fatally stabbing Austin Metcalf at a Frisco track meet, is reportedly renting a $900,000 home in a luxurious gated community. His family purchased a new car, but the family also claimed they couldn't afford his $1 million bond and asked for it to be reduced, and sure enough, like that, poof, the $1 million bond down to $250,000. Now, people are making comparisons. What if this were a white kid who killed a black kid? I'm not here to have that discussion. I know what would happen. We're talking about a 17-year-old young man who killed another kid. That's the conversation. And that's the only conversation that we should be having, not who's black, who's white. And yet black Americans are putting this kid on some sort of platform as some sort of hero.
Carmelo, why were you armed at school? Explain your self-defense. How is this self-defense?
Excuse me.
Carmelo, you like to say?
You want to say to the community that's donated?
Really disgusting. That was posted today by Carmelo Anthony's team, bragging about intimidating a female reporter and treating Carmelo, an alleged murderer, like a celebrity. Where's the retribution? You see, by making this about race, we continue to do a disservice to the innocent victim of a useless and, by the way, senseless murder. Now, Anthony's family is reportedly living large, and he admitted to stabbing Austin Metcalf just for, quote, grabbing him. But somehow, he's the exalted victim. I don't know. He killed someone, and he's still alive, but he's the victim. That's the America Barack Obama created, preying on racial division with zero interest in retribution. And speaking of retribution, interestingly, it's one of those days not just for MAGA and for conservatives, but also in recognizing that those who scream the loudest are usually the most guilty. Here's why. The irony, folks, is so rich here. Back in 2018, Letitia James built much of her campaign to become the Attorney General of New York by going after Trump like this.
You should not be afraid, not be fearful of Donald Trump. We should take him down. We should sue him all the way to bankruptcy. We should investigate his business interests. We should investigate his business holdings. We should investigate whether or not why he was once in debt and now in a position to purchase all of this property. We can do that because I've been trained to do that, and I will do that at the same time knowing the office of Attorney General and its powers and its responsibilities and its duties.
And then, when she was finally in office, the communist propaganda news network, CNN, reveled in Letitia giving up to those promises. Didn't they love this? Watch.
NBC News has exclusively learned that the newly elected incoming New York Attorney General plans to launch some sweeping investigations into President Trump, into his family. Letitia James tells NBC News, quote, "We will use every area of the law to investigate President Trump and his business transactions and that of his family as well." She plans to look into the following: Donald Trump's real estate holdings in New York, that June 2016 Trump Tower meeting with a Russian official, any government subsidies that Donald Trump received, whether he's in violation of the Emoluments Clause, the Trump Foundation.
Look at how much glee in reporting that. Wow. Well, now Letitia James is expected to be, get this, indicted for what? Mortgage fraud. Well, if she's guilty, she's guilty. Fraud is fraud. No one is above the law. Right, Letitia? How many times did you say that about Trump? And these are some serious and potentially career-ending accusations, maybe even throwing her in jail. Lock her ass up. Sorry. Letitia James falsely claimed her Virginia home was her primary residence. Meanwhile, she worked in New York. That's mortgage fraud. And so she's living in Virginia while serving as New York Attorney General. So that's election fraud and disqualifies her from being the New York Attorney General. So to lock in favorable loan terms, she made a false claim. Now, wait a minute. Where have I heard that before? Oh, yeah, that's right, from Letitia's own mouth. And I quote, when powerful people cheat to get better loans, it comes at the expense of hardworking people. Everyday Americans cannot lie to a bank and get a mortgage. And if they did, our government would throw the book at them. There simply cannot be different rules for different people. Well, guess what? I agree, LJ. Same rules for all people should apply. But mark my words, Letitia, we'll prey on both half of the country's collective Trump derangement syndrome and also, of course, the race-baiting legacy of who? Barack Hussein Obama. She'll blame the incorrect information in her mortgage applications on being distracted by her oh-so-noble campaign to take down President Trump at all costs. Or Letitia will claim the indictment is motivated by race card racism, or that she's merely a victim simply for perusing and pushing President Trump. And perhaps most importantly, the leftist machine will deliver the talking points to a happy, willing, and complicit propaganda media. They'll make her a martyr. They'll make murals of her. They'll make her the champion of justice. But never forget, this was a woman on a clear mission, no matter what, at all costs.
What is fueling my soul right now is Trump. Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, and then going home.
He said, I know my name personally.
And now, ironically, but not surprisingly, as she was intent on taking down President Trump, looking for crimes that weren't there, she was allegedly carrying out crimes of her own. This is what they do. They accuse Trump and the right of doing the things that they're doing. This is what I believe in. And I should hold true no matter what race, creed, sex, or religion you are, because these are not only American values, but they're the right kinds for this republic. Just like getting a job, a role, a position of any kind should be based on merit, on your experience, on your skills, who you are as a person. Each and every single one of us is responsible for our actions. If Carmelo Anthony killed a kid, regardless of race, of who the kid killed, or who the kid did the killing, or who was killed, the killer preserves and deserves to be punished, period.